All right, hello everyone. Here we are back for a Golf Clash tutorial video, and what I wanted to cover this topic is going to be on the multiple bags here. So let's say you have 2 or 3 bags at this point. Then you probably want to look into some kind of strategy setting them up together. So the way that I would recommend, with the way that the dynamic of the game is, if you didn't hear about the rule change, you basically are able to see the hole. Once you see the hole, then at that point you have to choose a bag to go with. So there's a couple of different factors that are going to influence what you choose to do. The first priority is going to be basically, what is the shootout holes going to be? So you need to be thinking about the 9 par 3s in your tour, whatever tour that you're in. And you need to be looking at those holes and, assess how many are going to be driver, how many are going to be wood, how many are going to be iron, for instance. And there's no way of knowing just from seeing the first tee box what the shootout hole is going to be. So, for instance, I think, up through the first 8 tours, there should not be a lot of drivers whatsoever on a shootout. So it would pretty much be wood for the most part collectively. And then once you get into Tour 9, I think you have the Southern Pines, which you could end up with some shootouts. And alternatively, from the Southern Pines, in Tour 10, you could run into the one Oceana hole 7. And basically, if you're in one of those tours with the driver, you'd really like to have an accessory option for you to either throw in rock or QB. Now here you can see that mine's, a little bit more entry level, but you can see that, one of the things about the rock is it really doesn't develop backspin until later. So I think it might be 6. I'm thinking level 6, where it's about 50-ish backspin, where you'll get an increase in the backspin. So that will be a very nice upgrade. Until that point, you can kind of make do with one of these lighter woods. And similarly with the QB, I think at a 9, it's going to go up to about 70 or so on the backspin. And looking at this Thor's hammer, as soon as that goes up to a 3, that will go to 64, I believe. So, having that nice backspin option, especially for Southern Pines, would be very advantageous. But also, mixing in a blend of that accuracy, if at all possible. So if, for instance, you get that rock 6 or you have that quarterback 9, that is something that you're going to want to think about putting in your alternate bag for one of those tours. So, that's kind of the first priority that I would kind of give as to how you go about setting up your bag. Another thing that you can do, let's talk a little bit about, par 5 strategy, for instance. Let's say you get a really long hole and, you're almost pressing the bounds of but you think you might be able to get there in 2 and win outright. Now, you only want to do this if you really think that you can get that eagle. If you don't think, there's a 60-70% chance, but you can set up one of your bags, and what I would, probably suggest is definitely set it up, on your main bag, with, your longest driver, but then also stack with that longest wood. However, you really need to make sure that whatever you're trying to pull off and reach for, that you actually pull it off. Because if you go to shootout with, extra mile 5 or big dog 5, in combination with one another, it's going to be very, very challenging to win a shootout. So ideally, that's something that you're just going to have to kind of weigh as an option. And it'll be much more advantageous if you have 3 bags to set up 1 bag like that. And it's got to be a long driver and long wood together, but you also have to evaluate it on the tee box before you even hit. So looking at that wind, you have to say, okay, I know from experience I can get this up to this point. Is it at least a 50-50 shot on my second wind that I'll be able to take this long wood and get to the green and be able to tap in for eagle and have my opponent possibly birdie, and I'll just win outright using that technique. But alternatively, if you set up to do that and don't pull it off, you really limit yourself on the shootout. You're probably going to lose the shootout. So it's really got to be something you got to be a little bit careful with. Alternatively, for your main, what I would recommend, as soon as you get that sniper to an 8, that's pretty much the switch over. So you can see that I have sniper 8 selected on this bag here. Alternatively, I'd pretty much be using Guardian up until that point. There's not going to be a lot of value in pretty much anything else until Hammerhead gets up to say 6, or if, Cat or Big Dog, other than that one option that I was mentioning, where you could potentially win the hole outright. If you don't think you can win the hole outright, it's not even worth ever putting, driver 3 wood long combo on if you don't think you're going to have a favorable win for the second shot and be able to win outright, then it's not even worth discussing. But another thing that you'll want to be thinking about is kind of long iron shootouts. So, the way that you want to set your bag up, for the most part, what I do is based on accuracy. But also, you have to think about the tour you're playing too. It's going to be hard to kind of set up for 2 different strategies for the par 3s, because you pretty much have to assume that you're going to a par 3, and you really never know what the wind's going to be. And, in a lot of the tours, there's at least 2 par 3s or so where you'll, usually have to hit like a Goliath. So, that's really not going to, long iron's really not going to weigh in too much. One of the things that you can do is you can set up 1 bag very high accuracy. So, for instance, I can crank up with my backbone there, and I can put Hornet on together and all the way across the board sniper, rock here, for instance, and I could just, put all accuracy clubs on 1 bag as kind of a guest bag. One of the things that you might want to do is, especially, if you're going to set up that option, for, let's just say, you want to use extra mile, you want that extra length, and, you just want to pair it with sniper for the most part, because for the shootout benefit. So, if you do that, then that's going to be pretty much what you use for your longer course setup. That means for your shootout bag, if you have a second or third option, you'll probably want to just set up a bag that's all high accuracy. And the advantages to that, let's say you get a tailwind or whatever, and your opponent can't go for the green, they can only maybe get up to a short iron range. One of the things you might want to do is just drop back down, pull your accuracy bag out, the one with all these high accuracy clubs, and just, put it in play. Take your second shot, hit a really good second shot. Maybe you'll be able to hold it. Even if you put on rock and your opponent puts on extra mile, for instance, let's say he gets up to short iron. I'm talking about a case where he doesn't get to the green, because you'd probably want to follow suit if you could get up to a wedge range. However, if you can see that he's going to be a little bit laid back, you can take your rock and get it up to the long iron range, for instance, and just take your chances at long iron on your accuracy bag. And what that'll allow you to do is have an advantage. You'll have all the highest accuracy clubs in the game come shootout time. It gives you definitely an advantage. So something that you can also be thinking about. And if you have 3 sets of bags, it's even better because you can play a lot of these scenarios that I'm mentioning out in kind of your same setup. And as soon as you get 5 bags, you'll be able to kind of cover all these different cases that I'm kind of mentioning, one for each. Another thing that you'll want to be thinking about in terms of wedge, you'll pretty much just want to play with the highest accuracy. I play with highest accuracy and ball guide combination. So whether that be rapier or endbringer in the earlier stages, that's basically what I use. So you can see that I have endbringer 1. There'd pretty much be no need to really drop off of that. The Firefly has good ball guide early on, but I can't think of a situation where you're going to be like, oh, I really need that ball guide for this. So it's really going to be kind of a moot point. But one of the things that you might want to do is another thing that you can do is you can set up 1 bag with endbringer, 1 bag with rapier. If you know you're going to get up to a green, for instance, this is more for later clubs. So not necessarily when they're 1 and 3, but more of like when both are very close to maxing. And you can set up 1 in each. And if you know that, this hole favorably lets me put 100 top spin on and, easily get a green hole out with my rapier, then I can use the rapier. If you know that it's kind of more of like a wishy-washy, or there's not much green to work with, then you'll probably just want to bring endbringer for all other situations. So what you can do is you can once you see the hole on the tee, you can just decide, should I put on my rapier bag or my sniper bag? And similarly, I want to talk about another case. Let's just say, you're on a tour with some tight holes. A couple come to mind, if I'm thinking of like Sakura Hills, the short par 4 that kind of goes around to the right there and then has a very tight green. You can set up one of your bags to have clubs like Machete. So Machete has, and you'll see as soon as I get it to a 9 there, it has 94 accuracy, 100 backspin. So it really gives you that backspin option to where if you do drive it in the rough, you could still potentially hole out from short iron range, but with the Machete club on. So you can set up one of your bags. You would probably maybe want to do this with your high accuracy bag, because the likelihood of you winding up in the rough and bunker is going to be smaller. But let's just say that it did happen. Or you wanted to use that bag for a short par 4, for instance. And in the event that you accidentally drove it in the rough, you'd have yourself covered. You could potentially hole out with a Machete. You could put on Houdini as well. And this, even from early on, level 1, already at 100 backspin, it's only going to get better the more that you increase that. So you'll be able to put that on. You'll be able to put Machete on. And similarly, you could do that with the rapier and the thorn. You could put all those high backspin options on for 1 bag, just in case you get to one of those tight holes. And, that's the first hole that came to mind. That's Sakura Hills. I think it's like hole 7, par 4, that is right over the sand there. It's a very short hole. Similarly, if you guys have played Santa Ventura, hole 8 would be another, it's right over that little water crest. And if you can get it up, if you can get your drive up there long, and you know that you'll have a long tee shot, and I'm thinking mainly when you go to the right on that Santa Ventura hole 8, if you can go towards the green and get like your rock over in position into that right fairway or even in the rough, you have enough range to reach the green. And with that full backspin option, it's technically still a makeable shot. So you really don't have to be in the green or on the fairway. So that gives you kind of an extra option. So you would probably want to have one of your bags, and if you have 3 bags, even better, because that'll, just be kind of one extra option where you could just put those 3 clubs on into, one of your other bags. And, you could set up another clone bag identical to that, but then also have the Nirvana and Endbringer and Hornet and, all your best Malibu, all your best accuracies you can put in one bag. And then when, say, bag 3, you could just go ahead and just put that high backspin option for all your clubs, just in case you get to one of those tight holes with not a lot of green and you see it pop up, you'll be well prepared. One of the things that you'll just have to be careful of is the sand and rough range aren't as long. So if you do get in a situation like that, you'll have to make sure that you're teeing it off and getting it up there into range to make sure you don't put yourself out of range. However, that full backspin option still gives you, at any time, I can still hold out with a machete. So if my machete is 100, for instance, on the backspin, there's no hole where I won't be able to make it, technically. So if you can put that on and you have a tight green, you'll always be able to backspin it and be able to get it into the hole. There's like no exception to that. So, on those tight greens, that's what you want to be thinking about, is that I'll be able to still potentially make this, and that's why I'd want to set up my bag like that. So that pretty much covers kind of everything that I wanted to talk about with intermediate bags. Let me go ahead and just switch to my main here, because I want to talk a little bit about kind of the later tours option. So let's talk kind of about tour 11 and tour 12 with the way that you'll probably want to be setting up your bags. So here you can see I have 3 options. So you can see my very first bag, it's going to be everything that is essentially, kind of what I feel comfortable using. A lot of high accuracy here. So Spitfire, Nirvana, Endbringer, all very good accuracy. If Cataclysm was a 6, I wouldn't even have it in my bag. But since it's a 7, I'll take priority of Cat 7 over Sniper 10. So, but there you'll see that I have B52 long iron, very accurate, and Epoch 7 also very accurate. So very good first bag. Let's see if I even set up my bags. But here you can see some of the changes that I made, and this kind of basically tells you exactly one of the bags that I was mentioning. So here it's all the best accuracy clubs. Now, if this Thor's Hammer, for instance, wasn't a 7, then I would just swap it out with rock, because Thor Hammer 6 doesn't have the accuracy. But let's take a look at this Thor 7. It has 92 accuracy, so it's almost 100, and it still has that really nice ball guide. So that's the only reason that I have, it there. Otherwise, I would just, throw on this rock, because you'll see the ball guides are equal. The accuracy is even better on the rock. And top spin, backspin, all very good. The only thing Thor can't do is curl. So, but you can see every single club in this is the best accuracy version and ball guide. So accuracy and ball guide together combined, all in one bag. So you can see this is a really impressive bag to be able to have it an option. And this is one of the things that I earlier touched on as something that you would, potentially want to be setting up for. And I think I've set up bag 3. Let's take a look. And I do think, yep. So this is going to be, kind of a subset of what I was just mentioning about, if, for instance, there's going to be driver shootouts. So I'm thinking, Tour 10, Tour 11, Tour 12, and I have 3 bags, but specifically, Tour 11, Tour 12, they can happen at all times. So if I put rock on with 100 accuracy, then I'm going to give myself that option to really be a sniper on the shootouts and be able to have an advantage. So, the only reason that I have it set up like this right now is because I was playing in Tour 12. Otherwise, I would swap that cat out and put sniper on. But the extra range of cat, especially at a level 7, because a 7 accuracy-wise is like 85. So having that accuracy, 82, I think it's 82 or something. 80. It's 80. It's right on 80. So with that nice, a decent accuracy plus distance combo, it actually comes into play on Tour 12. So this is, something that you would be thinking about. Of course, one of the good things about Tour 11 and Tour 12, you don't have to worry about long iron, short iron. They're never going to come into play. So, this is one of those times, since I know that I'm not going to have them on the shootouts, this is one of those situations. Sorry, I can't play right now. Let's take a look. So this is one of those situations where I could potentially, put up a high backspin type option. So for instance, let me just go ahead. I'll put Tsunami here. Thorn or Claw really doesn't matter to me. They're pretty much equal. Same with Rapier. I can keep that. But again, one of the things that I can be thinking about, and if I wasn't in Tour 12 specifically, I would be more prone to put this bag on. In Tour 12, things get a little bit long, and there's always a chance that you're going to drive it in the rough. So it's a little bit dangerous to do this in 12. However, putting on options like this, and you can see, statistically wise, backspin, ball guide, amazing. And similar with the Machete, this backspin, the only thing I'm limited is the ball guide, but I have really good accuracy. So I'll still be able to, if I was playing Tour 11, Tour 10, Tour 9, for instance, Tour 8, and I was going back to these tours, then I could set up my bag, similar to this, to where I have that backspin opportunity on every short club. So if I pull out this driver on the first hole, I'll break it out for basically, a short par 4 where I know I'm going to get it up to that range. And then I'll give myself that full backspin opportunity to spin it in the hole and win the hole outright. And then when we get to the shootout, I'll know that I still have, the rock on and either the cat or the sniper, which is going to give me that either nice range and ball guide combination, or with the sniper, it's going to give me that high accuracy with full ball guide, 4.5 anyway, with the ball guide. So these are the types of things that you want to be thinking about when setting up your bags. Good luck with, your tour play. I hope you guys find this video helpful to, give you kind of a guidance to setting up how you want to go about setting up all these bags. Once you get into that 4th and 5th bag option, it's going to make it that much easier. So if you can get, yourself in one of those expert or master clans, that's really going to, make things a little bit easier so you can kind of cover every single scenario that I just went over. Right now, I have to kind of pick and choose a little bit. But once I actually get to the point that I can actually say, okay, well, I can do, I can just switch out the sand iron, rough iron, wedge iron, and short iron, and I could just basically copy this bag onto another one, and then I'll just put all my long stuff on there as well as a 4th bag, for instance. Similarly, I can do that with, one of these bags. I can take some certain things out. Thor's Ints, I could basically have this option, but have Cataclysm. So it'll give me that one extra long case just in case I need it. So being able to switch to that 5th bag will be kind of a game breaker type decision, because if it gets really long and I want to pull out that opportunity to set up a bag that way, I could potentially, get it down there and try to, outplay my opponent on the first hole and, win it outright before getting to shootouts. So these are the types of things that you want to be thinking about. But good luck, and, I'll see you guys on some more guides. Keep me posted with how you guys are doing with these bag changes, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Good luck.